I promised them that I wouldn't take over the entire meeting, but I heard this meeting was going on and I wasn't invited, so I invited myself. Let me give you a couple things. They gave me a card of wonderful things I could talk about, but that's not what I want to talk about. I want to tell you what I told the House Armed Services Committee the other day and what I plan on telling the Senate, what I've been telling a bunch of people I've done for the last couple weeks. I am exceptionally proud of you. This is where I stop making a little eye contact with you and actually try to convince you that I mean it. I am very, very proud of this command. Why? You just don't do stuff, and you do a lot of amazing things that make things happen all around the world, right? And you do it every single day without any notoriety or fanfare. But that's not the most important thing you do. One of the most important things you do is you change the way people think about this enterprise. Over the last few years, the language has changed. The way we think about ourselves as a combatant command, and here's the way I know it. Based on the pride I get from you and the backing I get from you, because I can't do any of it myself, I can look Harry Harris in the eye, I can look Joe Votel in the eye and say no. And be confident that when I'm saying no, it's because you have a better idea. And then I go on and give that idea. We are thought leaders. We are pathfinders for a number of things in the Department of Defense. Nobody else is thinking the way we're thinking. Nobody. And I'm very proud of that. It's easy to get up every day, go to work, and just do stuff. It's hard to give it the little extra and think differently. Who would have thought we had a bunch of stuff in the cloud now? We have stuff in the cloud. I didn't know what a cloud was. We have now stuff in the cloud. We're working on a TMS, and I'm looking at a lady over there, I make eye contact with you right there, right? Who I was sitting in a meeting one day, and we were battling over whether we were going to have a TMS or not. And I just, out of the corner of my eye, she was sitting right over there, right there, and I was sitting at the head of the table, and she convinced me that TMS was the answer. And not everybody in the room believed that, but I believed her. And we're now moving down the path of a TMS. Big data, we're going there. And we'll one day have artificial intelligence here. That's what I'm proud of. And by the way, all that time, missions are moving all around the world. That never stopped. Nobody ever had a doubt that would continue while we were doing all that stuff. So now, how about you? Don't accept the way we have trained you. Don't accept the way we have developed you. Don't accept the way we have expected you. You deserve more than that. So I hope you challenge these folks that are coming out here, because I'll tell you right now, I want you to have more. I want you to be able to do more, because you already are more than how we've treated you. Hope that's fair. Does that make it understandable? But ultimately, I'm very, very proud. I tell the members of Congress, I absolutely hate testifying, but it's only the most important thing I do all year. Because it's the one time a year I'll stand in front of the American public and get beaten like this slithering rat that I am, but to be able to brag about what you do in this enterprise. I only do it once a year when I get that kind of bully pulpit, and I plan to use it as best I can. I think they gave me like 2 minutes to do that. I took a lot longer than that. Anybody got any immediate questions before I turn the program back over to the folks who own this time slot? I think I get to do closing remarks in the next one. So, is that? So you flinched. Your hand went up. That wasn't a weave pat then. Isn't it nothing? All right, thank you guys very much. All right, carry on.
Good morning, Transcom team. Good morning. So we wanted to bring you here for the first series in our civilian all calls, and we wanted to touch on a few topics today. So I do have a few rules of engagement. If you don't know me, I am Colonel Wisteria Joseph. I am your J1 here at United States Transportation Command. I am available to anyone at any time. All I ask is that you go through my executive officer, because she keeps a tight hold on my calendar. So we're going to touch on a few things. As I indicated before, because we have the jack on DCS, I ask for you to use the mic if you have questions. We will also make sure that we get through all of the information probably before we start doing question and answers, because there's a lot of material to cover today. I want you to know that we will, if we do not get to all your answers, we will make sure that we capture every question and provide an answer and hang them on our Transcom page by later this week. So we will make sure all question and answers for both sessions are actually answered and hung on the page. Is that fair? Okay, so without further ado, next slide. So these are the things we're going to cover today. We're going to cover performance appraisal cycles. We're going to cover both DPMAP as well as ACDEMO. We're going to cover what are we doing with talent management, where we are and where we're going. And then we're going to cover developmental education opportunities that are out there for all civilians. So a call is out right now from the Air Force, so we want to make sure you have the latest and greatest information. Okay? So let's get started. Mr. Monday.
All right, good morning. I'm Jim Monday. I'm assigned to J1C, and it's my privilege to give you a briefing today on DPMAP, which covers our general schedule and federal wage employees, and then just touch briefly on the ACDEMO project for our acquisition professionals. So DPMAP overview: on 1 April of 17, all GS and wage employees were placed under the DPMAP program. We had about 30 days to get our plans approved, and then we had a midterm progress review on 1 October. We're quickly approaching the 31 March appraisal closeout, and we will have 30 days to close out those appraisals. They will be effective 1 June. This time frame is exactly the time frame that we experienced under our legacy system, so there's really no difference in the time frame whatsoever. This year, our monetary awards are 1.5% of the total annual salary of all employees who were on the rolls on 31 September. Those will be effective 2 June and will pay out mid-June. Again, this time frame is what we've experienced for the last several years under the legacy program. Time off awards for this cycle are, you can award up to 40 hours, and then for the entire period of the appraisal, the 1-year period, that amount cannot exceed 80 hours. What is different is the MyBiz tool that we use creates a DD form 2906. So when we're in the appraisal tool and recording data in there, it creates the 5-page form 2906. What is unique, that is probably not ideal, every action that we do in there creates a new 5-page form. So when we approved the plan, it created 5 pages. When we did our progress review in the midterm, it created 5 more pages behind that. When we do the closeout, it's going to do 5 more pages behind that. So if you input your data input your information into the system and you saved it, it's there. Just go to the back of the forms, keep going all the way to the end till you get to where it was input, because you probably have a 15 to 20 page form right now in there. So just go to the back, the information that you saved is there. Our performance awards will be captured, this is new also, via Air Force Form 1001. It's a multiple row form that allows us to do more than one set of awards. The 90-day period, to talk about that, the employee and the supervisor have to be aligned together for a minimum period of 90 days. It need not be consecutive days, but they must be together for 90 days. So the flow, how this will work, the employee provides input. It is not mandatory that the employee provide input, but we highly recommend it. And then the supervisor is going to write the performance narrative. Now you see my arrow pointing to the Word document. We highly recommend you do all of these inputs in Word document. The reason is, every employee, supervisor, higher level reviewer, and trusted agent is going to be in the My Performance tool all together in this one short period of time. What could possibly go wrong, right? So we advise you to record that in Microsoft Word. Then when you do go to the tool, the amount of time you're going to spend in the tool will be less. You go in there, copy, paste, certify, and move on. So then the supervisor will assign the rating level, will transfer that to the employee. He or she will acknowledge that, send it to the higher level reviewer, and the higher level reviewer approves. It's important to know that the supervisor does not approve the plan. The higher level reviewer is the one who approves the plan, the appraisal. Then the employee would acknowledge that. We talked about how the awards then will flow with that. The 1001, we can do a combination of time off and monetary. If we give a QSI, and that's limited to employees who have a rating level of 5, if we give a QSI, no other awards can be given with the QSI. And the Chief of Staff is going to give us some direction on how he wants to account for that, how he wants to limit that, and what charges he wants to make for time off. And we will send that to the directors very shortly. So closeout tips on our SharePoint site. We are going to have the 25-page Creating Annual Appraisal Overview Guide. And the reason this is important is because almost none of us in this room have done this before. This guide gives you step-by-step, screenshot by screenshot, how to do the performance appraisal closeout. We talked about cut and paste. One other thing is important is hierarchy alignment. Supervisors can press that button right there in the tool, and it will display all employees that are aligned to them. If you have an employee that you own that is not aligned, that is the time to take action. So by pressing the My Team tool, the My Team button, the supervisor can just type in the name of the employee and then hit that radio button and align themselves to that employee. Also, the employee can do that. The employee can do My Supervisor, press that button, choose a supervisor, and just simply click the radio button, and then you're aligned. Because if the hierarchy is not accurate, the supervisor cannot write a report on any employee that is not aligned to him in hierarchy. By the way, let's do the level 5 rating development requires justification. We have to justify why that person is getting a level 5. By the way, the same 30-day period when we're doing the appraisal closeouts is the same 30-day period that we have to prepare the new performance plan. So we're going to do both of those actions at the same time. If the current plan is still accurate with the position description and aligns to the goals of the organization, you need not create a new set of elements and standards. You can simply copy and paste those from last year into this year. If adjustments are made, then those elements and standards need to be written in the SMART format. So we remember that as specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and of a timed manner. For our acquisition folks, supervisors and employees should be in Castanet now. We are at the midpoint, so those midpoint reviews should be accomplished and captured within that tool. And with that, I will turn it over to Cindy Bell from Talent Management.
Good morning. My name is Cindy Bell. Some of you know me as Cynthia Bell, and I'm going to talk to you today about civilian talent management. So a couple of things that we're going to talk about in the next few minutes. First is we're going to define what talent management is. Next, we'll go into the talent management life cycle. The talent management life cycle is the basis for what we have been forming our talent management program against. Next, we'll go into the civilian developmental rotation program. And then lastly, we're going to talk about what all of this means for you as a Transcom employee. So first, I scoured the internet for definitions of what talent management is, and they can be really simple to really complicated like this one. But I believe that this one is probably the best, most comprehensive definition of talent management. I can't take credit for it. Mr. W.A. Sheeman published this information in the Journal of World Business. I'll just go ahead and read it to you. The collective talent management is the collective knowledge, skills, abilities, experiences, values, habits, and behaviors of all labor that is brought to bear on the organization's mission. So there are lots of aspects to that definition, but I think every single piece of that definition is important, and that's what's helped building our program here for Transcom. Okay, so now we go into the talent management life cycle. Again, Mr. Sheeman, in his article, did talk about this, and he was the one that came up with this life cycle, so I can't take credit for it again. But the strategy branch in J1 is using this as a basis as to how we build our talent management program. So as you can see, there's an entry point here at attracting, and then we move on to acquiring, onboarding, training, maximizing performance, developing in succession, and I have that highlighted because I think that's relevant for the civilian talent management program. And then we move on to retaining and recovering. And when you look at the cycle, you can see different pieces scattered in there. So in the center, we have the human capital strategic plan, which is the basis of how we manage our human capital in our organization. The next is the human capital dashboard. So shortly here, J1 will have a HR dashboard that we're going to hopefully go live here shortly. And this gets at making our organization data-driven and that we make decisions that are data-driven. So let's talk about developing in succession. So first, developing employees is helping employees shape the future direction of their careers. So it's focusing on the future versus focusing on today. And then when we talk about succession, this is probably one of the biggest reasons why we need to get at the talent management life cycle and talent management program is because approximately 40% of our organization is going to be ready to retire within the next 5 years. So from a human resources perspective, I see a lot of work in that. I don't want to recruit for all those people. So part of being able to fill that gap is addressing the talent that we have within our organization and making sure that our people are ready to take those future positions. So this leads us into the Civilian Developmental Rotation Program. So first, I'd like to say that this is a very new program for our organization. Some of you may have heard or have talked to some employees who have been rotated into positions probably about last October timeframe through now. It was a small number of people, but it was a way of us getting at talent management and rotating people into positions to help broaden their KSAs. I'd like to highlight that it's a tool to help gain experience in a variety of competencies. Excuse me. So in order to enter into the program, it'll be a self-nomination process. So the self-nomination can be either employee-initiated or supervisor-initiated. So on both ends, you have to have that conversation and you have to find out if this program is a good fit for you. Your employee may think that this is a good fit for you, so you do need to sit down and speak if this is going to be something that's helpful for you. The nomination period is going to run from 9 April to 27 April, and it will be via a SharePoint. So the SharePoint will be advertised here beginning next week. So we're going to send out an email through the HRLs. There'll be some advertisements on the screens as you walk in, the TV monitors, and then the splash page. Sorry, we'll have an advertisement on the splash page for you to be able to view that. The SharePoint will also be on there. So when you self-nominate, you're going to include your resume and a self-evaluation as to why you believe that this program would be a good fit for you. Once the self-nomination period closes, the Talent Management Board, which consists of the directors, will review all the packages and determine if the employees are ready for a rotational assignment. So from that period, once they make their decisions, the placements, we plan to have them occur in June of 2018. At that given time, we'll have a certain amount of positions for people to rotate into. We may not have a position for every single employee who self-nominates into the program to rotate into. So throughout the year, our goal is to gain those positions from our mission partners, from other federal organizations. So we're starting those conversations now. We're trying to get those positions to increase the placement for our employees. And like I said, the continuous placement opportunities will happen through April of 2019. So the eligibility, since this program is so new, we're starting it off with our GS 13s, 14s, and 15s. As the program matures and grows, we plan to open the aperture up to our GS employees that are at the GS 12 level or below. So lastly, what does this mean for me? So first, as I discussed in the past, it increases developmental opportunities for Transcom employees, so that's for you. Next is you're going to be able to broaden your KSAs. So when you broaden your KSAs, we're broadening your core as an employee. The wider range of KSAs will prepare you for future positions and for positions of greater responsibility. And then lastly, U.S. Transcom is making a purposeful investment in you. Our human capital is our most important asset, as most people have heard before. Transcom recognizes this, and they're making that investment. Thank you. And next, Mr. Johnson is going to talk about the CDE program.
You're here today. I'm talking about the annual 19 Civilian Development Educational, the CDE program, and the Civilian Strategic Leader Program, better known as CSLIP for those that, the acronym for that, and the Engineer and Scientist Exchange Program Nomination Call. The topics and overview, I'm going to give the process of how it works, the announcements, I'm trying to get the word out to everybody else because everybody will get an email and so forth, but I'm just trying to get another avenue for you individuals out there, all the Air Force civilians, to volunteer and put a package in and be one of the one pillar for us as with talent management for you guys to volunteer and get your packages in. I'm going to be going over the civilian development education 3 portfolios, the basic development education, intermediate, and then the senior. And then as well as just what I mentioned on the C-slips for the GS-13s through 15s. What we value, that's going to be a slide in which of what the board actually looks at when you have the package, and the selection process of who is in detail of that package. And then some new programs that came out this year, changes to the AY19, some instructional guides, the career field teams, some point of contacts for you to reach out to, and then last but not least, the resources. The announcement process. Okay, so at the beginning of the March, when this all came out, APC should have sent everybody an email, a robot email stating that this program is alive and well, and for everybody to go and look at their packages and so forth. The virtual, MyPERS is your #1 resource for this information. It's one of those programs that if you don't go out there and look at it, you don't know what's out there. So if you click on it, I'll show you later on what it looks like. That will give you all the classes and courses and all the information you need for your packages. At the beginning of March, when this all came out, J1, my office, we sent out a informational TMT, so everybody got the word. Can I get just a show of hands of, has everybody seen something in reference to this Air Force Civilian CDE call? Great, great. That's the whole point. We want to make sure the word's out for you guys, because in order for you to get the packages in, you got to know all about this program. These next 2 slides, I'm showing you, this is the Force Development website. This is actually the home page, is what, when you first come on it, this is what's going to look like. This is the top half. And the most important thing for you here is the bottom half, where you see the Civilian Development Educational Programs. Once you click on each one of those lines, it takes you to all the courses and classes that you want to volunteer for. It tells you everything that you've got to have in order to put your package together, how to put your package together, templates for resumes, because it's not just your everyday resume that you guys click and put USA Jobs. It's actually a template that they require, and if it's any different, they will not accept the package. The CDE Timeline. Okay, so these are the packages. Like I said, at the beginning of March is when the robo email came out to everybody. Everybody has till 1 May to submit your packages. And that's not, that complete package is when the individual itself will submit that package. There's no boarding here in Transcom. There's no quota system here in Transcom. Everybody can volunteer for whatever job, up to 4 courses within the year. So that package has to be submitted and signed by your director, SES, or whoever that's going to sign as the endorser. That package is the responsibility of the individual to upload. And once you click on those 3 lines that are on the previous page, that will tell you there's going to be an upload right there to submit your package. When it comes to 1 May to 1 August, that's where the functional DTs meeting, they will meet between 1 May through August. That's the development teams down at APC. They'll take a look at all the packages that are submitted, and that's when they'll start reviewing. They'll take all that information that they got with packages, and then they'll submit their results to the CDE selection board, who will meet in September. Once they meet in September, they'll make that determination, they are the selection, and then they'll send it off to the Developmental Education Designated Board, who approves the results. And once those results come out in October, we usually get a informational email saying it's been approved. We get that listing so we can identify to the directors and everything else that these individuals have been selected. Those individuals that have been selected will receive an email from AFPC saying they've been selected, and they'll start the process. The first portfolio. This is the basic developmental. There's no mobility requirement. This is all just informational. It's all available out there on MyPERS, all this stuff. I'm just giving you just a snapshot of a few classes. There's so many that are out there, but I'm just giving you information. For instance, if you see the quotas that are out in quotes, those quotas are the total quotas that the Air Force has for the individuals for that particular course. And down at the bottom, as you see the asterisks, even if the individual doesn't want to go and apply for any of these courses, there are distant learning courses that are available through the Air University. They'll just have to log on, get a login ID, and they can submit their own through distance learning for that. IDs, it's another intermediate development education. For instance, those people that want to apply for Air Command and Staff College online master's program, there's 205 quotas. Mobility is not required for that. The Air Command Staff College quota itself, there's only 16 for the whole Air Force. So you can see where it's all very competitive. We're talking not just Transcom, we're talking Air Force as a whole. The senior development education, like Air War College, 12 quotas. National War College, there's only one quota that they give out to that individual. This is just a continuation. It's a couple more classes out that are available for you. CSLIP for the GS 15s, 14s, and 15s is actually eligible for the GS 13s as well, and I'll explain that a little bit on the next page. This just tells for the qualified for the joint half, MAJCOM, or installation assignments. Got to have at least 12 months in current position, at least 12 months in permanent grade, either GS 13, 14, or 15, because I'll explain that a little bit. At least 12 months of supervisory experience, bachelor's degree from an accredited institution, and then consideration factors, grade, appropriate PME, and education are highly desired. This is where I was talking about on the GS 13s. They're eligible, but they're only eligible if they PCS for their installation only that they're at. For installation level assignments, the Deputy Director of Installation Support for their local where they're at. Whereas on the 14s and 15s, you will PCS for 36 months. What we value. This is what the board is actually looking at when they go through. All this stuff is available in the PSDEM, which is located on the MyPERS homepage when you go through. This will do exactly for IDE and what they value for each class and so forth. For instance, for the SDE, it's the sustains high performance awards and other. It's a check, and then where you got the check is somewhat valued and the X is valued. So this is what they're looking at when they're looking at the packages. The selection process. This is what actually the board is looking at. Of course, the employee submits the nomination package through MyPERS by 1 May. They will not take anything else past 1 May. So you got to have it in by the end of April. APC CDE office does a quality check to make sure they'll take a one-time look to make sure all the paperwork's there, everything's correct. They may look at that resume and make sure it's the right thing, but they'll return. You can imagine how many packages they get. The career field development teams, the DTs, they are your main focal point that you can contact and talk with. They make up of senior leaders across the functional community. They're down at AFPC. The whole thing is chaired by the general officer, and they make recommendations to where they go to the final word. And again, down at the bottom where it says members are then notified of their selection or non-selection, that will be in the October timeframe. They'll get an email from APC. This is just a graph of showing the same steps that I just talked about. The member will submit the package. APC does the quality check. Career field team prepares for presentation, and then they send it to the career field development team. The CDE panel will prioritize the list, give the names, and then they'll select. And again, the employee is notified.
Yeah, can I mention something quickly? Just so it's really important. I'm sorry. So it's very, very important for the individuals because the J1 staff has no capability to see who's applying through the system. So in order to help you out, if you have a director that's getting slow or at getting after your particular package, then somehow you need to be contacting me so I can get with that director to make sure we get it done. So it's really on you if you've applied to keep after this so that by 1 May, these packages are signed and down at AFPC. I don't want a process because they don't have visibility into that in the J1. So, okay.
Thank you, sir. Okay, these are new programs that have come out this year. The White House Leadership Development Program, eligibility is for GS-15s and higher with 2 years of federal service by 1 May of 2018. Leading Effectively Through Change. The Leading Strategically Seminar, which is part of the short program courses offered for GS-15s and equivalents. And then the last one, the Civilian Associate Degree Program. This program actually came out last year, but we've gotten word back from APC and so forth. We had a small amount of individuals that applied for this program, so they want to get the word out and make sure it's available to everybody. And they have, I believe, like 80 quotas. It was on one of my first pages for this. We just got to make sure we get the word out for the associate degree program. Changes to eligibility criteria for AY19. The big one is that they're changed in this year is the penalty for declinations and withdrawals is changed. If an individual requests to decline or withdraw for personal reasons after the date of official release, they could incur a 2 or 5 year penalty versus a lifetime. And when these quotas come out, when there's a selectee that gets that email, they will work, their career field team will work with you as far as if you find out your class date's in April and you got something going on and there's another class date in July, they will work with you at a reasonable time, try to get you, maybe switch to or swap out from the April to June class or whatever. They'll work with each one of you. Instructional guides, these are also located out there on the MyPERS homepage. The CDP guide, the package guide, what the responsibilities are for the individual, tips for an effective resume, just like I said, the templates that are out there, and the civilian mentoring guide. Here's your career field teams. I didn't put no names out there because of course they changed. They couldn't change throughout the year. So these are the DSN numbers, the 665 is prefix, and if you call commercially, it's going to be the 210565. These are the available resources that are available for you. And the last one that's been added, all of the ones on the top, all but the last one are part of the CDE program with the talent management SharePoint is down on the bottom. And before I bring up Mr. Monday and Ms. Bell, the Colonel wanted before, but I'll mention it here. For the next civilian call, we'd like to have, if there's anybody out there who wants to propose any civilian all-call topics for the next one, if they can go ahead and just send an email to that org box, and then we can encompass it in and hopefully get that out for the next civilian call or the ones after that. But we'll definitely listen to you. Further ado, Mr. Monday, Ms. Bell.
Okay, so now we'll open it up for Q&As. And hopefully we can get the Jack to submit questions if we can get them through on DCS. Any questions? Yes, ma'am. Liz, behind you.
For the civilian rotation program, is that a rotation? Is that a 1 year rotation? Do you go back to your career field? And is it, or back to your original job? And also, are ACT demo pay bands eligible?
I'm glad you asked that because I have my mic. So I'm glad you asked that because that was actually something that I totally skipped over and I meant to talk about it. But they are, the assignments can be anywhere from 6 months, from 3 months to a year. So it's really dependent on the type of position that you would be rotating into. The point would be that it would have, the time frame would have to be beneficial for you. So we don't want you going somewhere for 3 months when it would be more beneficial to go for a year. So it's going to be on a case-by-case basis. What was the second question? Oh, ACT demo, yes. So it is open to ACT demo, so it's going to be open to all positions within Transcom. The only caveat with ACT demo is we're going to have to try to keep ACT demo with ACT demo until we kind of figure out what the implications are for reassigning inside and outside of ACT demo.
And another question was, do you go back to your previous?
Yes. So some of the assignments can be either permanent or temporary. So a permanent assignment would be a reassignment, right? So you do a personal action that would be that reassignment, and you would not have return rights back to your former position, okay? There are other opportunities such as details and temporary promotions. So for temporary promotions, for GS employees, it can't exceed 120 days because it's non-competitive. ACT demo, it's different. The laws recently changed and now it's a year. So that it's a benefit for ACT demo employees. And then in both of those instances, you would have return rights back to your former position.
How do we get the slides?
We will send the slides out to your HRLs, and then you'll be able to get them that way. Any other questions? Wow, we actually hit everything? That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking for my notes.
We
to
still
see
have
if I
some
forgot
time.
anything.
We can hang out. Okay, General, one question.
Good morning, ma'am. Just wanted to bring it up. We've had some difficulties with our employees changing their supervisor in MyBiz and vice versa, having the supervisors bring in employees that belong under them. Is this a problem Air Force-wide, or is it just something that we're encountering here?
What do you mean by problem?
As far as when we go into MyBiz, an employee goes in and tries to find their supervisor. They find them, but then when they go into the block where it shows who's assigned to them, or who they're assigned to, it's a different name. It hasn't moved it from the old supervisor to the new supervisor.
Yes, so there are no restrictions in the system this year, so any employee can choose any supervisor, and any supervisor can choose any employee. So next year, we want to clamp that down, but currently, yes, that's a problem.
So what's happening is if you go in as an employee and you change your supervisor, and that is not official and documented properly, by the time we get the notification, we will change it to the correct person from our position, okay, in the J1. And the reason why is because we also have to ensure that you're aligned properly on the books, okay? So if you see someone change and it changes back, that's why. It changes to someone else, that is why.
And just to clarify, that answer is for hierarchy only, not for the appraisal program. Okay, so if your plan was started by another supervisor, that plan, that's going to take us to come in as super users to put you from one rater to another. But I'm talking about hierarchy only. Yes, thank you.
Any other questions?
For the talent management portion, is there a time that you need to be in your current position before you're eligible? And are there going to be choices of where you could possibly be moved to?
Right. So there's not going to be a time limit on how long you've been in your current position. Your entrance into the program is dependent on your supervisor recommendation and then your director approval. So you could come in as this hard-charging employee from another federal organization, and if they feel like you're ready to be, that you would benefit from the program, you could do that. But it is dependent on how your director approves that. And then
Whenever you apply for that, are you going to be given a choice of location?
no, not currently. So right now we're looking at vacant positions within Transcom. And then we are opening up opportunities with other components. So we're having conversations with SDDC, AMC, DLA, NGA. So those types of organizations, or you could rotate within those organizations, or you could rotate to another position within Transcom. The intent behind it is to be beneficial for you, right? So I know some people are a little leery about not knowing what would be out there for them to go into, but the directors, they have your best interest at hand when they're looking at you, and the point is to go over your IDP and see this is what would help benefit this person to grow into that future position. You're welcome.
Hi. Today is the first day I've heard of the Air Force Forum 1001 for the awards, and that's probably my fault. I admit that. So a very, very elementary question. Is the onus on us supervisors to go find that and do that, or is there going to be a trigger point along the way that's going to tell us to do that?
Yes, we will have that, a link to it on our SharePoint, and when the CPS guidance comes out, they should include the form with it. It's actually a NAF form. So as we sped through this process this year, the Air Force grabbed whatever was convenient that they looked like could carry more than one entry, and that's what they came up with. So, or anyone can get it by just going to Air Force Forms, Air Force Pubs, Forms part, but yes, we'll have that available. So.
And this is the first time we're using this form for this process, so that's why you haven't heard about it before.
Hi. Under the previous pay system, what the military got rid of, can't even remember what it was called anymore, where they had in the pay bands, there was no mechanism in place to ensure that the higher banded individual supervisors took the majority of the supervisory pay pool pie. What mechanism do you have in place to ensure that the pay banding type of scenario isn't repeated?
So the mechanism we have in place is the HRLs, and we have that on purpose. Also, all of the awards stuff will go through the Chief of Staff for final release over to the CPS for approval. So that is the mechanism we have in place. No other questions? So this is fantastic. I hope you all found this valuable. If you would, please give a round of applause to your J1 team. And like I indicated, we'll do this afternoon. We'll make sure we do some kind of quarterly routine with our civilian all-calls, and we will post all the question and answers on the Transcom page and send the slides out to your HRLs. Okay? Thank you all very much. Before you leave, General Flournoy has a few questions.
Okay, just I've got about 150 slides that we're going to show. So no, I'm just kidding. Listen, I just want to echo General McDou's sentiments. Thanks for what you're doing every day. This is not easy stuff. And with our big five, what we call our big five initiatives, and others, we are working hard. Everybody's working hard. Realize that the J1 staff is going through the same things that you go through in your particular staff, with people that are moving on and doing other things and opportunities to get promoted. But so don't get frustrated. Just understand that we're working with AFPC to work those new hires or those transitions, because I know that a lot of times you get frustrated going, gosh, it's been 6 to 9 months and we still don't have that employee's position filled. We're working those very hard, so the staff's working those hard. And we also prioritize those. General McDou gets to prioritize those that he needs filled yesterday because of whatever they're doing within the command. So, but just continue to communicate with us. I would also, I want to echo the fact that these are for you. These aren't for us. These are for you. So if you've got questions, you've got things that you're going to think about as you go back to your particular office, you may go, gosh, I wish I would have asked that question. Please bring those up, because we're going to have a second section this afternoon. Or Ask Us Anything. Or email me directly. That's okay. Nobody reads my email but me. Just email me directly, and I'll make sure that we get you the answer. We owe you the answer, okay? And then lastly, I would just say that take this opportunity now to fill out those climate surveys. That's another way to have your position understood, right? And a way for you to offer your feedback to the senior staff so that we can look at it and get after it on those concerns. Because what we don't know, we don't know. We cannot work on, all right? So thanks again for everything that you're doing. Really, really appreciate it, and continue to communicate so that we know what your needs are. All right, thanks. Enjoy your afternoon.